Okay, ladies and gents, if you have seen our launch coverage of the BYD Dolphin and you're very interested to see how it drives, well, that makes two of us. So now you're going to join us on our very first drive. Now, BYD is represented in Malaysia by Sime Darby, and they very kindly organized a 30-minute drive for us, which is not a long time, but it should be enough to sort of understand this car within context. Now, the car we're driving today is the premium model. So this is the car with the larger battery and the range claimed of up to 490 kilometers. At the moment, we have 98% charge, which is, according to the car, good for 481 kilometers, which should be more than enough for today's drive. Now, from the get-go, one of the things that I appreciate about the Dolphin is its excellent visibility, because I'm looking around and it feels like I'm in an aquarium, which is fitting since this is a Dolphin. Now, as I am driving along, I can say that the acceleration is quite brisk, given the fact that this car obviously makes all of its torque from zero and it has quite a lot of it. Now, the BYD Dolphin is available in two variants. You also have a lower variant to this, which doesn't get the panoramic sunroof, and it has a slightly smaller motor and slightly smaller battery. So it's less potent and it has slightly less range. Now, on the CLTC cycle, the lower end model is expected to do 410 kilometers. This one is expected to do 490, as I mentioned earlier, but real world range should be a little bit lower. Now, the thing about BYD is that the stated range on the car is not a dynamic range indicator, which means it will simply show you that this percentage should correspond to this much mileage. It doesn't actually adjust based on your driving settings and your driving style. So please keep that in mind, but the dynamic range will come later with an over-the-air update, likely along with Android Auto. Now, as we're driving along, I can appreciate the fact that the incredibly comfortable seats that we got from the Atto 3 have been transferred into this. But in this car, they now benefit from ventilation, which is certainly very nice. My bum and back are being kept nice and cool. And the other thing that hits me almost straight away is the level of refinement. The Atto 3 runs on Linglong tires, which I know doesn't really inspire confidence, but these tires were developed specifically for the Dolphin, which means it should be adequate to handle not only the performance, but also offer the sort of NVH levels that BYD was looking for this car. Now, the beeping and bonging that you're hearing is largely to do with the ADAS system, which we will test shortly. Now, the Dolphin comes as standard on both variants with a pretty comprehensive suite of ADAS systems, which include things like adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, among other things. And at the moment, I can't quite figure out why it's bonging at me, but I suspect that is something I'll only really be able to put together once I have this car on test properly. The pickup in this car is quite impressive, actually. 351 Newton meters or something to that effect, which means that coming off from a standstill or trying to merge into traffic as I just did should be a rather smooth affair. And visibility, as I mentioned earlier, is great because this dashboard is quite low. I do appreciate the fact that the aircon vents this time around are mounted in such a way that they can actually blow to my face, which was not something that I got from the Atto 3. Now, this particular model that we're driving, because the exterior color is grey, so the interior color is also grey on black, which is less than inspiring, sure, but you can also get blue on grey if you go with the blue premium model. If you were to get the lower end models, unfortunately, I'm made to understand they're all black, which I guess is not bad. If you didn't like the very vibrant interior from the Atto 3, then you may appreciate the slightly more docile and reasonable interior of this. And now, we're going to try the acceleration. A lot of wheel spin. Oh, but it'll go. I mean, this is ultimately a city car, which means there is certainly enough torque and enough power for you to get up to whatever it is that you need to. And the brake regen is not bad. It says I'm recouping about 44 kilowatts of power, which is pretty impressive for a small car. I can't quite figure out how to adjust the regen, though. Now, as far as I can tell, this is certainly an impressive thing to drive because for a city car, it is offering a pretty decent amount of NVH sort of refinement. The road noise is noticeable, sure. If you're comparing this to the likes of the Atto 3, for example, or even the Hyundai Kona EV or Ioniq 5, then yes, you will notice that this is a little bit noisier, but I really do mean a little bit. And ultimately, you are still isolated or removed from the noise of an internal combustion engine, which is certainly a nice thing to not have. The thing about the Dolphin is, so far on the motorway at motorway speeds, it does feel quite confident, which is certainly not something I would have said about an affordable EV, particularly a Chinese EV at that, which informs me that BYD is paying attention to customer demands, particularly for export markets. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the ride and handling has been tuned for Malaysia or is riding on a different tune, because I've never driven a China market Dolphin, but it does seem quite promising so far. What impresses me about this car is in terms of the refinement and the handling. Now, of course, there is some degree of body roll and the steering wheel is completely numb, but that is to be expected from a vehicle of this class. Any vehicle, internal combustion, EV or otherwise. Now, on the motorway, you can hear that this car has pretty decent refinement. And in terms of body control, it is quite confidence-inspiring. This is most certainly not a driving enthusiast car, but then again, I doubt there is any BYD that's really made to do that. That said, however, this is certainly something that even I could live with day to day, simply because it offers enough. There is adequate range, there is adequate performance, there is more than adequate equipment and specification, and the audio system is actually not that bad either. Now, as I mentioned in the walk-around video, in case you haven't seen that yet, it's up there, this car does not yet offer Android Auto. Now, BYD says that it is coming over a period of time via an over-the-air software update, but they do come with Apple CarPlay out of the box. BYD also says there is an app which should allow you to control some features of the car, but more importantly, it'll allow you to monitor the vehicle, particularly when it's charging. Now, overall, what is very clear to me is that the BYD Dolphin is certainly a value proposition in the segment, because for 100 to 126,000 ringgit, you are going to be very hard-pressed to find a vehicle that offers quite so much. In fact, even if you were to compare this car to internal combustion vehicles like the Honda HR-V or even the Proton X50, the BYD Dolphin offers a lot more, both in terms of space, practicality, and features. The only question, or rather concern, being electric mobility. Now, if you are very lucky to live in a condo with charging, or you have available charging to you, then life is going to be very easy. This does make for a very competent city car. And if you live in a landed property, you have absolutely no excuse not to get one. However, this being an urban car targeted at urbanites does mean that for those of us who live in condos like myself, where you have no charging available, it does require a little bit of planning. But is this a suitable first EV? Absolutely. And at this price, it is frankly unbeatable. The only car that comes near it in terms of price is the Netta V, which has the build quality of a shopping trolley. So would you rather have a car or would you rather have a toy? I think I know the answer, and you should too. I certainly look forward to having the BYD Dolphin on test properly when the opportunity arises, because this has to be one of the most promising electric vehicles I've driven so far. And it is also the most likely for me to buy because it's quite affordable. In any case, that has been our very quick drive of the BYD Dolphin. It's a truly interesting machine and certainly something that will pique the interest of many, not just looking for an electric vehicle, but looking for an entry-level car at about this price point. Let us know what you think about the BYD Dolphin in the comment section below. If you haven't caught our walk around, you can check that out on the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so notified every time we make a new upload. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care, stay safe, and ride the electric wave!